Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'd normally say welcome back to the plot, but of course today isn't about the allotment, it's about our brand new garden. After weeks and weeks of rain, honestly it's been awful recently, we've got a lovely day to get outside. But I think we'll do it in two parts. First we'll get outside, just look at what we've inherited, see what we've got out there, and two, then I'll start to talk about what I want to do in the future, and hopefully what the garden will eventually look like one day. I suppose the first thing I should talk about is just how lucky we feel to have inherited the garden in its current condition. I mean, if we wanted to, we could pretty much leave it as it is. In terms of layout, you can pretty much see it all behind me. Unlike friend of the channel, Niall, you can actually fit our entire garden in one shot. We've got kind of the two main borders. There's a nice trellis at the back with some climbing plants. There's two amazing sheds as well. And we've got this nice patio area just here, which is, I mean, it's fantastic. It's all we really need. I think maybe in time we will have wished that we had a bit more space, but I never thought we'd have anything this big. This is one of two areas right near the patio, which are both kind of planted up with shrubs. We've got some lavender over there, and here we've got some fuchsias, a mystery bush that I do not know the name of. I'll show you a picture now, because there's one of these in the front garden as well. So please someone tell me what this one is. These are both nice little planted areas. They've got some kind of curved brickwork as well. As you could see before, we've got two borders, and the one on that side of the garden is very much south facing. This is the one that gets all the sun, while this one is basically north facing, and with this fence here, this gets absolutely no sun whatsoever. In terms of plants, once again, I have no idea what I'm looking at. There's one kind of shrubby sea buckthorn type looking thing here. There's some nice flowers here. Maybe some kind of red currant or something like that. And of course there's this gigantic tree, which I'll talk about later. Along the back we have this trellis, which I'm quite fond of, which is mainly dominated by this passion flower. There's a few little mystery type ones down here. No idea. And there is this pretty gigantic bush as well. Once again, no idea what this is, but since we've moved in, I've seen it everywhere. So if you know what this is, please do let me know. One thing that we don't like so much about this garden is that the previous owners loved roses. Now, myself, I'm not such a fan, and there are more rose bushes along here than I can really count. So I think those will have to come up. You'll see the path as well. Not the most attractive kind of concrete path that runs down to the end, and the sheds. The sheds, however, are amazing. Look at the size of this thing. It blows my mind every time I look in there. The width of this thing is huge. It's like 7-8 feet wide. I did lie as well when I said I'd done nothing. I did put that composter in. I got that from the allotment. Not too much you can say about that really. It should do its job over time, and it'll be so much nicer being able to actually compost at home rather than having to take this food bin all the way to the allotment, which is what I was doing before. But yeah, I think that's what we've got really, isn't it? Let's talk about what we want to do in the future. Also, I'm going to put a coat on because it's getting cold. One thing I did forget to talk about is this, the lawn. Now, I mentioned on the channel before, I've got a background in kind of conservation and management for biodiversity and that kind of thing. I used to work for the National Trust, and I do a similar thing with my career nowadays. Now, lawns are pretty torrid for biodiversity, right? And I'm just not a fan. I don't love to see a lawn. But that said, it is a nice part of a formal garden, right? It's nice to be able to use it as kind of overflow when you've got visitors, and it does look tidy, doesn't it? It does look kind of nice. So I'm quite prejudiced against lawn, but Jess is kind of keen. Jess likes it, my fiance, and I think maybe in a year or two we'll be looking at getting a dog as well, and it will be nice to have somewhere for the dog to run around. So I think we'll be keeping this. In terms of quality though, this is not a normal ryegrass that you would have on the lawn. It's very thin, and I think they might have planted this up with a different species. I'm not sure. There's also an awful lot of weeds coming through. So if you were going to rate my lawn, I don't think it would fare too well. So might need to do some lawn work as well, which doesn't fill me with excitement, but there we go. It's nice to have. Okay, so talking plans for the future. What I was thinking with these beds close to the house is this would be an ideal space to grow herbs, basically. You're right by the kitchen, super convenient to come out, even if the weather's not so great, and just pick what you need. One of the issues with doing that here is that this curved kind of brickwork along the floor is very ornate, and I kind of want to keep it. And I don't think I've got the skills to build a raised bed that would be able to nice and neatly curve around the brickwork. So we might leave this as sort of a space for something ornamental by the patio as you're sat down in the summer, kind of something you can enjoy nice and close to the house. What would you do? That's really what I want today. I really want as many comments with people telling me what they would do with our garden as we can get, because I'm not too sure. I don't love the idea of keeping the shrubs, that's for sure. I think it would be nice if we were going to plant this up with something more ornamental, to have something with a bit more, just a bit more interest. Now this side, the north facing border, I am really stumped on. I don't know what we're going to do with this. I do want to grow productive stuff, you know, I want to be growing herbs and a few bits in the garden, but I think this stuff is going to be pretty unproductive, you know, if we were trying to grow crops here. Even fruit bushes like the currants, I mean, these look really sad. So any recommendations for nice looking shade tolerant species would be amazing, because I think this one is going to stay pretty unproductive, maybe more ornamental. And at the risk of sounding a bit like a broken record, I think we're going to do much the same with this. I did think this might be a nice place to put some runner beans or something like that, something with a bit of verticality and height, because it kind of draws your eye to the back of the garden, you know, it draws your eye along the garden, makes it feel a bit bigger. But yeah, I think for now this is going to be kind of really low on the priorities. We'll probably leave this as it is, because it's quite nice. I love this bush. I actually really like it. So the south facing border, however, I think is the place that's going to see all the action, basically. I hate this path. I hate this concrete path. And either I want to put something over the top of it so you can't see it, because pulling it up looks like it'll be a pretty horrible job, to be honest. And this is the area that gets all the sun. This is going to be the productive part of the garden. If we have raised beds, this is where I want them to go. I really like the idea of doing like the slightly more precious crops here. So the kind of salads, the herbs I've already mentioned, but the kind of stuff that needs a bit more love and attention. And that way I can use the allotment to have the kind of less high maintenance crops, the potatoes, the things like that, that might only need me to go up once a week or something like that. So this is the area where I want to maybe put in a few raised beds. But I'm worried about cutting the garden off too much. So I'm not sure if I would do a raised bed along or multiple beds that came out into the garden. But we can work that out in time. That brings me on to the next point, which is the possibility of a greenhouse. Now I'm not particularly sure if we want one or not. Before we moved in, we definitely loved the idea of having one, but since kind of mapping it out, I think it would really dominate the garden. And it would have to go on this side as well, which means a lot of work on the floor. Not the end of the world, it could be doable, but the other question is, does it go along the fence? Similar to the raised bed question, does it go along the fence or does it come out into the garden? Because if it comes out into the garden, we've got to get a pretty small one. And I think if we want to get one, we want to have a really big one, because we've already got a small one at the allotment. So watch this space. I really don't know. I really don't know what we're going to do about the greenhouse. But time will tell. Regardless of what we do on that side, like I say, I hate that path and I do want to move it. Ideally, I'm kind of enjoying the idea of having a path that kind of, you know, has a bit more of that to it, a bit of a wiggle, a bit of interest, maybe with some planting along it as well, which might mean that this part becomes the kind of lawn area. You know, maybe we divide the lawn in two, along down here. One side can stay lawn, that side, and then maybe we take this side for growing. I'm not sure. It's pretty much, I mean, this is like the most time I've spent in the garden and most time I've spent thinking about it, and it's on camera, so it's very early days. I really hope that you guys can give me some inspiration and some suggestions, but it's very exciting. One thing as well that I really love the idea of is having a pretty good sized pond, and that will go really well along any part of this garden. Now that I've said it out loud, I'm enjoying the idea of splitting it in half, planting over this side, lots of stuff for native species, pollinators and that kind of thing, and then maybe a pond as well would work quite well with that. Let's talk about the tree. The tree is huge. It's absolutely massive. I'll be showing you a little clip now. We knew it was big when we came for the viewing, but I didn't realise quite how big. You'll notice as well that it's a pine. Might get a lot of flack for saying this, and I'm a bit nervous to put it on YouTube, but we want to get rid of this tree. Now, I've mentioned, okay, I'm into conservation, don't crucify me, but I think this is a pretty good example of the wrong tree in the wrong place. Now, we've been here a month. It's not the summer months or anything like that, but I have not seen a single thing in here. A single insect, a single bird. It's not in the right place, and it's going to be doing very little for biodiversity. Maybe a bit of carbon storage, but we don't want to keep it. It shades the whole garden. It's on the wrong side. I think it's ugly as well. Okay, if it was a beautiful oak or an ash tree, a field maple or something like that, that was going to provide loads of benefit for native biodiversity, you can bet I would be falling in love with that tree, but pines are not for me. I've never loved them. So we're looking at contractors at the moment to get that out. And what we're going to do in the space along there, I'm not too sure. I like the idea of replacing it with a native tree, maybe some hazel, some willow, something like that. But yeah, I think it's got to go. I can't believe we've got a garden this big. I just love the space. Like I say, one of the best things about this is it's okay as it is. We can leave it. We don't have to rush to get all this done. It's not like when I took the allotment on, it was a total jungle. We can leave this. We could go a summer sat in this garden drinking and just enjoying it, you know. But we've got winter, so we're doing a bit of planning, and I've still got the allotment to take care of. Speaking of the allotment, hopefully next week's video I'm going to go along for the first time in a month, and I'm a little bit nervous because, like I say, I've not been there. I'm surprised I haven't had a letter from the council, but I think they're being a bit lenient with COVID. But yeah, we'll go see how the allotment is doing and whether or not it's turned into a complete jungle next week. But yeah, like I say, I really hope you've enjoyed seeing the space. Please do give me your ideas and your thoughts. Let me know what you would do. Yeah, if you've enjoyed it, remember to do all that YouTube stuff. Like and subscribe, and stay tuned. As always, thank you ever so much for watching. I'm so excited. Hopefully, I'll see you again next time. One thing I did forget to talk about. I'm waiting.